It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
What's happening, everybody? Showtime. I am here, the Geno Jones Show. Bam! I know you can see it. You're saying, gee, we can see that. Stevie Wonder can see that big-ass sign right there. It's Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Central Time, 4:30 p.m. live in Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Everybody on the West Coast now, I need everybody to do me something or do something for me. Hook a brother up from the very beginning of the show. Click on the thumbs up button. Like, share, subscribe. Subscribe, like, and share. Yes, click on that button. Let the algorithms know what time it is. You're saying, okay, algorithm, Geno, I hear that. What is that? It's just a set of instructions that's programmed into these platforms. Real simple. And they kind of track what we do. But we have people with nefarious means and nefarious intentions that own these platforms, the cult members. They want to suppress our humanity. They want to suppress our knowledge. They're the ones that's banning books. They're the ones that's fanning fear and hatred and bigotry and racism and misogyny and sexism. Oh, but we're going to reverse engineer that. As we say on the south side of Chicago, we're about to remix that. We're about to remix that thing. So click on the thumbs up button. Like, click on the share button. Like, share, and click on the subscribe button. Tell everybody to subscribe to the channel. Please, it's so important we support black-owned media and independent platforms. I will just tell you real quick, if you like to support the company, my media company, and this platform, and what I do every day, and just the message, and just the whole vibe and the energy of the show, leaning into humanity with humor and conversation and knowledge and all that, so you can support the show using Zelle or Cash App. Zelle, you can just use my email address, which is genojonesshow@gmail.com. I'll give it out again at the end of the show, or you can Cash App, which is $, Dad G Jones. That's all one word. You got it, $, Dad G Jones. But I'll give you that. I just want to do that up front because a lot of people say, well, hey, listen, we love what you're doing, but we want to support. And if you are a business or if you are running for office, you can run your campaign ads. If you want to run ads here, I'd love to have you as a sponsor. Shoot me an email, genojonesshow@gmail.com. All right, coming up. So today is 55 days until Election Day in South Carolina. Now, I know they're having a MAGA, the MAGA runoff, the MAGA Senate runoff today. That's that, okay? We ain't giving them no airtime, even if I don't even want their money. All money, let's go back to the south side of Chicago, probably in your neighborhood, you heard it too. But I remember hearing all money. As a matter of fact, not just the south side, in my house, which is on the south side of Chicago. All money ain't good money. I can hear my mother's watching me right now. She'd be like, Jeannie, all money ain't good money. All right. But anyway, so 55 days until Election Day here in South Carolina. Do you know ballots, which we're going to talk about, mail-in ballots are going out in like less than 2 weeks in some states. We're going to talk about that tomorrow because the Supreme Court, the MAGA court is trying to play games. It's a whole different story. The bottom line, show up early. South Carolina, Election Day is not November 3rd. South Carolina, Election Day ends on November 3rd. Election Day is October 19th. That is the first day of early voting, and I'm going to need you all to show up like y'all going up to Columbia to see Usher and Chris Brown. This is going to be 70,000 folks that's going up there, and all 70,000, I'm going to need you all, before you go to William Bright Stadium, I'm going to need you to vote because there's a concert. So William Bright Stadium up in Columbia, South Carolina, that is where the University of South Carolina Gamecocks football team plays. And they get like over 60, close to 70,000 people. So I know it's going to be 70,000 between Usher, or some of you all say Usher, and Chris Brown. Yeah, listen, it's going to be sold out. But I'm going to need 70,000 people to show up to vote. All y'all that's going to see, show up, vote for your humanity. That's what you need to show up for. And show up for the humanity of you and everybody else, people that you love, people that can't show up for themselves. So that concert is going to be up in Columbia, South Carolina, October 29th. That's 10 days. So no excuse. All right? Them same party buses that y'all going to take, caravans, whatever, everybody carpool, however you going to do it. plane, train, automobile, bus, bike, I don't give a damn. October 19th that's election day. That's the first day of early voting. Show up for yourself. Show up for somebody that can't show up for themselves. Show up for somebody that you love. Show up for humanity. Can we lean into humanity, which I'm going to really get into before I bring my guest on. Now, on this day in 1927, I got to acknowledge this sister, Althea Gibson, whose story is not really told at all like it should be. She became the first black person to integrate pro tennis, and she was also the first black person to integrate pro golf. Yeah, y'all didn't know that. Yes. She won. As a matter of fact, she was the first African American to win a Grand Slam tennis match, because you know the big four tennis match Grand Slam is like, she won the French Open in 1956. You know, the French Open, and they have the U.S. Open, they have Wimbledon, and the Australian Open. So shout out to Althea Gibson. She broke the color line in professional golf for women, for just professional golf, period. She's a native of South Carolina, Clarendon County, South Carolina. Stand up, Althea Gibson. On this day, we want to salute you for breaking the color line in pro tennis. Congratulations to you, and rest in power. Speaking of rest in power, before I bring on my guests, I want to acknowledge a woman who's an icon. She's an icon of country music, but she was an icon of just the human culture, because her appeal and the love she had for people was global. You know, she had very humble beginnings in rural Tennessee, backwoods, the mountains in Tennessee. Dolly Rebecca Parton. She died, she's 80 years old. As a matter of fact, she lost her husband a little less than a year ago. Yes, of course, she was a country music icon. Country music, she was not alone, but you know, when you think of country music, a lot, Dolly's, she's somewhere on your lips. Whoever your favorite, you know, Dolly Parton is in that conversation. But more than that, it was just the cultural impact that she had on just the total culture, period. Of course, way back in the 80s, it was this movie 9 to 5, which was really a movie about, and they used humor to speak out against sexual harassment in the workplace and equal pay, the lack of equal pay for women is unfortunately. Here it is, that was 1980, 46 years later. Women are still dealing with sexual harassment in and out of the workplace, and unequal pay in and out of the workplace for women of all colors, especially black women. But it's unequal pay for all women, period. But it's even worse for black women, which is kind of how America is wired. Let me say this. Some people just have a spirit of compassion, of humanity, of generosity. Some people just have that spirit. When you see them, when you meet them, when you talk to them, when you see them on television or hear them in an interview on radio, whatever. And Dolly Parton, she had that I mean, with the energy and the vivaciousness, and you know, her self-deprecating humor, you know, because people, you know, tease her, you know, I'm paraphrasing, she said she took her look, her stage persona from the town tramp. I'm quoting Dolly Parton, okay? That's what Dolly Parton said. And, you know, people, especially back in the 80s with the sexes, and, you know, people, you know, made fun of the remarks because she was endowed, you know, and then just the big hair. And she leaned into it. And she made jokes about herself. And her jokes were funnier than the jokes that comedians would make. Her own self-deprecating humor. But the thing that I learned about her, even though I didn't necessarily follow her music, I'm not like a fan of country music like that, but I was a fan of her as a person and her humanity. And over the years, I've heard her speak out against just racism and just hatred. And you could tell, you can tell what comes from the Spirit connects with the Spirit. And you could tell that her love of people, period. It was real, it was authentic. She never forgot her humble roots. She connected with the underdog. She connected with people who were deemed and looked at as less than. Because she grew up, she came out of that. Now, you know, kids say, a lot of times you will hear people say, somebody came from the mud. She came from the mud in rural Tennessee and became a global icon and an incredible businesswoman. Dolly Wood, her own, think about it. Dolly Parton had her own amusement park. I mean, that's really, it's still open. And she was huge into education. She has a program where kids can get free books every month up until they're 5 years old. And one thing that really impressed me, so Dolly Parton, she was the first, her song, I Will Always Love You. Now, you may not know, when you think of I Will Always Love You, you probably hear Whitney Houston, a lot of cases. And when I heard it, I just heard the song, I thought, okay, Whitney wrote it, Whitney made it. Then I learned, oh, wait a minute. That was Dolly Parton's song? She wrote it, she sang it, yeah, I think back in the 70s. Now, Whitney took it and owned it. And the thing about it, Dolly Parton, she embraced it. She welcomed it. Now, she celebrated it. Now, one of the reasons was Dolly Parton got roughly over $10 million in royalties from Whitney singing her song. But I remember seeing Dolly talking about Whitney. I think one time I saw them together, and Dolly was, because she just thought Whitney had the greatest voice, like most of us did. And she was just a huge fan, and she was so excited. I remember seeing this interview, and she talked about how honored she was. Dolly Parton was like, she was like a fangirl almost. She was so honored that Whitney Houston, who had this incredible voice, would sing her song. And the way Whitney just owned it, instead of Dolly Parton being jealous, she celebrated it. And like I said, got $10 million in royalties. And one of the things that Dolly Parton did with some of that money, so she went to a all-black neighborhood in Nashville, Tennessee, and bought like an office complex, a shopping mall that, you know, employed, you know, the black people in that community and everything. And I just learned that today. So the point I want to make in closing before I bring on my guest, it was, and I said this before, and I've learned this, I guess as I get older myself, every day we get older. One of the most important things, I could make an argument that the most important thing that you can have in life and afterlife is impact. The impact that you have on people, the impact that you have on children. Because your impact, it will outlast and it will mean more. Yes, whatever your music, your success, your memories as a great entertainer or athlete, or, you know, the lives you may save as a doctor, a lawyer, that's great, but the impact, and we can have impact in so many different ways, but the impact, if you can have a positive impact on people who you may never meet, that's like the highest calling, that you could be a vessel to have an impact and be a blessing to someone else. All right, my guest, she is running to be a part of the Charleston County School Board here. We've had lots of problems with the Charleston County School Board with the MAGA cult takeover. They call themselves Moms for Liberty. I can call them moms for a whole lot of other stuff, anything but liberty. And it's so important that we lean into, I was just talking about humanity and impact. Because we're living in a time now to where really political labels and ideologies, throw all that out the window. Throw all that shit out the window. It's a simple choice. we're choosing now is a choice between humanity and inhumanity. Do you lean into humanity? If you are a politician, which means you, by definition, you are supposed to be a public servant. You are supposed to serve the people who elect you. You were given this incredible amount of power, but you were given that power by the public, and your job is to be a vessel to make sure you not just, generate policy, write laws, pass laws, use your power to make sure that all people, have the rights and resources to live a better life. Full stop. It's just that simple. And Moms for Liberty, Moms for, no liberty is anything but that. So it's so important here in Charleston, not just in Charleston County, but everywhere. But here in Charleston County, South Carolina, it's a huge problem. And she's running, my next guest is running to be District 1. I got a chance to read her bio. She had an incredible story about her dad and the impact that he had on her and neighbors. So nobody can tell your story better than you. So I'm going to just bring my guest on. There she is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Dr. Char Fitzwater, to the show. Hello, Dr. Fitzwater. Welcome.
Hello, Geno. It's great to see you and talk with you. Thanks for welcoming me so energetically. And I just have to say that connection with Dolly Parton really touches my heart too, because I'm fully aware of her generosity in giving books and knowing how important it is for literacy for all of our children. So that's a wonderful connection. I hope we can celebrate her as a part of thinking about education tonight too.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Very well said. Thank you, Dr. Fitzwater, for putting it that way. So, Dr. Fitzwater, if you don't mind, share your origin story. But I want to start off by saying, so I got a chance to, read your bio and get some notes on you, and I thought it was very touching. You talked about the impact that your hero, your dad, had on you, who was a World War II veteran. We salute his service and sacrifice. And I'm paraphrasing now. You can give me the exact quote. You talked about how, basically, he was kind to all people and taught you all just to be kind to all people, full stop. And how that is, you live by that mantra, that the word I used earlier, impact, the impact that had on you. So if you don't mind, you could tie that into your origin story and tell us how all that led you to where you are today and where you will be as one of the next board members for the Charleston County School District.
Sure will. So yeah, it was pretty impressive that my dad went to serve in the Navy when he was 17.
Wow.
He actually had to finish high school after he was released from World War II. But that formed his values. That informed his thinking about, we care about others, the tragedies that went on during World War II and what we were standing up for as a nation. That gave him the sense of what community should do for one another. The range of people that he became in relationship with, apparently didn't know a stranger. Everybody was his friend. He'd walk down the street and he'd greet everyone. And it was warmly and genuinely in a great way. He also had a passion for history and for nature. So we lived near Philadelphia. We'd go to Philadelphia. We'd go to Newcastle. We'd go to graveyards and he always had something to connect the stories of what's happened and how our lives kind of come together. Along with it, he would be turning over the horseshoe crabs and we'd be looking at all the trees and nature and an awareness of how does it work. And so it was great. Learning was a part of living and breathing and doing great things. But my mom, who sort of complimented him in so many ways, she was really passionate and smart, and she was the one that pushed for education. I'm really proud of my parents. One of the things that happened, Daddy worked for the telephone company when AT&T was the big conglomerate. And in that role, he had a colleague whose wife needed surgery and he couldn't get a loan. Banks didn't make loans at that point to individuals. So he and others got together, he and my mom worked with him to create a credit union where they could save their money and loan to one another. So that was a dynamic of how do you do things in your life that are not just for you, but they create flourishing, if you will, in the world. I'm really proud of my daddy.
Should be.
He finished high school. He finished his bachelor's degree when I was in high school.
Wow.
I'm so proud of that. I got to see the hard work that he had and the great things that he did. And while some people might say, oh, don't tell him that, my word is, oh my gosh, the courage and the joy. And he was a very bright man and contributed well, but mostly he made people feel good when they were with him.
And that's impact. That goes back to that word. The impact that we can have.
Yeah,
That impact can be for good or can be for harm.
right. Well, the integrity that went with it was also a part of it. So that's a great thing. So I went to school, of course, because, that's what we did all the time. And I loved it. My undergraduate degree is in education. I became a special education teacher briefly. Then I kind of got excited about using my numbers nerd capabilities and got an MBA and finance. And I moved into the world of corporate America. Well, I did business valuations, that's a consulting role. And then a corporation, I was a lot of roles that had to do with finance and with strategy and redesign of processes in a Fortune 150 company. It was called USF&G. They used to have the USF&G Sugar Bowl. We were a part of that. USF&G actually merged with the St. Paul companies. I did the first study that looked at that merger and said, here's what we could look at and do. So these incredible adventures that culminated when I was a CFO of an insurance company. I was 22 years of my career. It included doing mergers and acquisitions and divestitures and numbers nerding and trying to make the best things happen and always doing it with a goal. And I guess I'd just like to mention that I worked in insurance, but I don't see that as a negative. It was, how do you share risk and how do you make sure if you have a fire or a hurricane or other things, you're covered. So it's always about serving others. And that's kind of the purpose-driven element that we all get a chance to lean into. Even if it's just making someone happier because you've smiled, that's a good thing. So after I left being a CFO, I went into higher education. I started on the path, so I had to go back to school again. I have a PhD in organization and management,
Wow.
and I worked toward becoming, and I loved the fact that I could come and teach from my experience in business. I could face the students who said, uh-oh, accounting, and it looked like deer in headlights, and I could walk through that with them. But strategy and finance and how do you make things work well meant a lot to me from an experience perspective, and that was a part of what I brought into the learning for my students. So ethics was one of the courses that I taught. And in that course, and in a club not a club, an organization that we had, a team of students, my students used their entrepreneurial capabilities to make a difference in the world. That was required for the course. They couldn't just phone it in, write a paper. They needed to go out and do something. So one of the things that a team of my students did was start a nonprofit that supported women and children escaping domestic violence in El Alto, Bolivia. The women at the shelter made products. My students sold them, and they also did fundraising that helped support this shelter. They know that their ability to create marketing, to create all the things that they did in communications, they saved lives. They've made a huge difference and they got incredible experience. So that organization actually lasted for 5 years. The kids raised over $100,000. Some of it was selling things and others. Made a big difference, and we had to step away from it. Sadly, the laws changed in Bolivia. But what they learned, you don't just learn from a book, but all those things they learned in the books related to it. So that was a joy. I was in higher education for 17 years, including being a department chair. So I know what it is to get a program accredited because we did that, to have support for your students in every way that you can, to measure their learning outcomes, to think about what do they need to do, and even to get feedback from, people that they'd work for. How are they doing? They have to have internships. What are they learning? And from the students, what did they think they needed to learn? In the process of that career, I have 2 children who I love dearly, and actually now sort of 4 because each of them is married. I have 5 grandchildren, 2 of whom live here in South Carolina, and they were the magnet that brought my husband and I here to be a part of this community. I got here, I guess, as quickly as we could right after I retired. So being here has been just a joy, except that shortly after I moved, not shortly after, a couple years after we moved, some things were happening on the school board.
Yeah.
And I noticed. And I went to a meeting that was near us, and part of that connection was with Charleston Area Justice Ministry, which my church is a part of, and I get to be a part of. And they were watching what was happening on the board and formed an educational governance committee to follow the district. And I got really involved with that. I ultimately became co-chair. I went to the meetings. I followed what was happening, and I can tell you that I was unsettled by the chaos that was happening, by the curriculum pressure, book banning, by the fact that they brought in a superintendent and pushed him out within 4 months. That was not only expensive, ridiculously expensive, disrespectful. They cut off his ability to really lead in that role, and they hired him and then pushed him out.
Remember.
And the chaos was not just for the people at the top of the organization. It affected everyone. We got principals and mayors writing and saying, this is a problem. What are you doing? Get your act together. But I wish it had stopped then. They did get a superintendent in. Now came in as the deputy superintendent, has had a lot of support. She is proactive. She ran forward with programs. Some of them were already designed and has done new ones. She's gotten a lot of things done. They've made progress in getting some of the schools that were poorly rated out. They've had great success in getting some of the learning objectives better scores, I should say. But the chaos didn't stop. They'd like you to think it stopped. It hasn't.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to, there's 5 members on the board who are Moms for Liberty, but there are 9 members of the board. That means 4 out of 9 are not having their voices heard in some instances, or being shut down in things that are important. The good news is they all have an opportunity to ask the hard questions, to probe and make sure things are being done well. But the tough news is, and I'm going to tell you from last year, it was, I never was interested in running. But the board had a series of meetings in November and December. 9 people on the board. All 5 members of the self-proclaimed majority hold all 9 of the leadership positions on the board. All 9.
Yeah.
They voted themselves into it.
Wow.
And that blocks out the other voices from getting things on the agenda. It blocks out the other voices from having their constituents be represented, having all of our constituents be represented, because all those members should represent all of their constituents, and from listening to them. Another thing that's happened is there's been a creation of a new foundation, and there was a fantastic person who was nominated for it. The only one that was blocked is a person who had not only experience as a dad and volunteering in the schools and doing great things, but also had civil justice experience, understood what it would be to balance things well and what they would do. And I don't know why that happened, but I feel very strongly that that was not done. That's not good governance. So if you go back to the good governance and the ethics and the things that matter, this has been really sort of a motivator to say, what do you really care about? For the past 4 years, the board has always had on it 5 members who have been backed by Moms for Liberty. There was a changeover in who was on it, but it's still 5 backed by Moms for Liberty. And their influence hasn't stayed just with that. But I think I'll sort of leave it at that. I might have a little too much passion about this. I don't know.
No, well, listen, Dr. Fitzwater, trust me, you can never have too much passion on this show. I encourage all my guests to be your full, true, honest, authentic, as the kids and not just kids say, self. No, there's one thing that nobody in the world can beat you doing. I say this to everybody. Nobody can beat you being the best version of yourself. And I said earlier in my monologue, what comes from the heart connects to heart, connects to the heart. Because one thing I was going to ask, just on the outside, having two daughters who attended public school, one who attended public school, Bell Hall Elementary School, and then Charleston County School, the Arts Middle School and High School. There's an incredible attack on public education from the federal government. You got people who are in charge that don't know they're behind from a hole in the ground, who are put in a position to destroy public education. Sam Scarton was on last night, who is the running mate for Jermaine Johnson for governor. Of course, Sam is his running mate as lieutenant governor. Has talked about how this state was taking money for public schools, creating vouchers for people to take that public school money and give it to private schools. So that's been a pet peeve of mine. Also, as a parent of they're adults now. Two black daughters. I don't have any sons, but I have nephews. But there's still the inherent bias, the systemic bias in education. Period. Like all of our institutions, I could go in every institution in America. Just how young black kids are just their presence and body is just looked at as threatening, as criminal, and they're prone to be suspended. You could have two kids, one is black and one is white, get into a scuffle, the same deal, and the black kid may wind up getting kicked out, and the white kid may barely get a mild suspension. So, which kind of leads into the whole thing with book banning. It all, that whole mentality, for me, it all ties in. And the weird thing, I know you and I talked off camera about book banning, is what are you afraid of? I think I've heard some of these moms for liberty say, well, we don't want our kids to feel bad about themselves when they hear about slavery or Jim Crow or lynching and murder and rape, or the story of Emmett Till, and so many stories. And to that, Dr. Fitzwater, I say, if your child reads a book about the inhumanity toward any person, that's a good sign. Because that, to me, shows that that child has a level of humanity, that they have tapped into their humanity. They are tapped into a sense of compassion and empathy and caring and generosity. We need more of that. We need, as you say, good leadership, but we need, part of that is people seeing our common humanity and leaning into that. So that's just my take. But I'll just let you speak to, as a matter of fact, feel free to comment on that, but also kind of give us, I'm sure you have like a checklist, like a day one checklist, maybe a day one checklist, first 90, 100-day checklist on goals that you have planned for you and the other members that are running to kind of bring a sense of balance and humanity and justice back to the Charleston County School Board.
Yeah. So when it comes to the point about humanity and caring about others, that really is a matter also of the role of a so-called politician. I don't feel like a politician, but I don't know. I'm purple, by the way. I'm like, you can call me anything you want because it's nonpartisan, and it should be nonpartisan. It should be not about our politics, not about our background differences, but about caring about one another. There is a gap in the Charleston County School District between the scores for Black and brown students and white students. And that's one that should be a focus, not in terms of let's bring anybody down. Let's be sure we're bringing folks up. Let's be sure that we're having educational experiences that tap into the connection with every child and that we help make them stronger. And there are some things going on that can and are doing that, I believe. I know, so to some extent, like there's an Orton Gillingham program that's going out across the district. Things like that need the backing. The teachers need our backing. The frontline, all the frontline educators, all the folks who are working with our kids need our insurance that they can have livelihoods that they can get by with and live in this area. It's expensive.
Yes.
It is. And in the whole process, not have things politicized. So the concerns you're talking about are everywhere. not only at the federal level, at the state level. We've got some laws that they're trying to pass. I've been tracking those. I can tell you that the way they're rearranging things at the federal level gives indications of things too. Oh, you're back. That's
Oh, yeah, don't
good.
worry. Don't worry. I'll just say
All right.
the enemy. That's just the enemy afraid. When you're really speaking the truth, as my grandmother said, tell the truth and shame the devil. Sometimes the enemy will try to disrupt, but we rebuke him. He can't disrupt anything here. So you go right ahead. You're fine.
So I want to make it clear that the role of the people on the board is to promote things that are good for good education, but it's also to ensure that the things that need to be addressed are. So I'll give you one example on that. The federal government's responsibility related to ensuring that everyone has a safe environment in which they can learn. That's been from the Department of Education and it's not getting the attention that it should. That is an opportunity that we have to say, how do we handle it given that a legal requirement for the school is out there, the schools is out there, and how do we want to make sure that we may be monitoring and addressing that internally? So my goals, it includes backing the educators and what they're doing, the high quality actions that are being taken. I believe that many of the things that they're doing just need to be encouraged and moved further. I also believe that in the process of doing new things, there should be some good questions asked, tough questions asked that say, okay, how are we going to measure this? How are we going to know that it's done well? How are we going to see good results? Those are healthy. That's good leadership. It's also good governance. And that's what a board has the right responsibility to do. I believe that, so flourishing is what I want to see for all our students. And that's where they get to know that they're valuable, that they have capabilities, that their capabilities make a difference in the world, and that they can use those, and helping instill in them that sense of joy in being able to learn and do things. And we should all be lifelong learners, right? I can be wrong. You keep teaching me things, and I'll
Yes.
try to share some information with others. It's all good. So, in that context, the key thing that can't get in the way is politics and governance. We need good governance that cares about what the constituents say, as you mentioned, that stays like you have to keep learning, to keep understanding what else is happening, how do we really be successful, examining the tough things. We've got a lot going on. What's happening with AI? Will we be using technology? Ask good questions. And I tell you, that also links in with being in touch with constituents. They're asking the questions. By having that knowledge, if their children's experience need to be taken into account, isn't that the right thing to do? So asking the questions from that framework too. And standing up to say, hey, we want our education system to be strong for everyone. Um, there's a couple of other, so strengthening student learning is my first sort of students first. Improving governance on the board, and that has to do with shared governance, making sure everyone's voice is heard and promoting that. Transparency, because there's been some places where processes and the information haven't been as transparent as I believe they need to be. And then inspiring us to do more as a district and supporting that too. Really supporting the superintendent, the school district leadership. They already know I've been asking questions and I've been complimenting things that they've done better. They've been making strides in all kinds of areas. Finance is one of my geeky things, right? So I've complimented that and noticed it and continue to believe they need our backing to get that to be stronger. So I think those are the overall things. The governance is a big one. It's both in behavior and how do you think about the policies that we have being followed well and executed well.
And Dr. Fitzwater, if you don't mind, drill down for those who are watching who may not fully grasp what you mean when you say good governance. If you can break it down some more and give us an example of what that actually looks like to someone who is not a trained educator or professional.
Go back to my 5 and 4. Making sure that everyone has a role in leadership. Making sure everyone has a chance to get things on the agenda. Making sure that shared governance is a huge element of what we do. Bringing people into the conversation, asking good questions as you're analyzing things, and integrating other people's thoughts. That means like supporting them, having back and forth dialogues that say, I like what you say, and that makes sense. That one I don't understand. Tell me more. All of those elements become good in good governance. Another component of it with the transparency, it's actually a process. So for example, and they've changed this, there's been comments made on it, but for example, there were times that something would come on the agenda, they'd talk about it in a meeting, they'd bring it up for a first reading, and it changed. And it's like, wait, you didn't vote on it, it shouldn't change. So there's processes that are transparent. Where did that language come from? Why are we doing this? That is important. I think ensuring that the public voice is heard and given a chance to be heard, as well as hear back. What are we thinking? What do we think is important?
Yeah.
If you go to a meeting and you get to say, oh, I can have my comments, but I'm kind of feeling like I'm talking to the wall, that's not a good feeling. So the superintendent does respond to the things that are said, but the board doesn't ever publicly respond from the dais. There was a proposal for it. They could, having more opportunities for them to interact. That's a part of good governance. Just encouraging and taking that. It can be done individually. It can be done overall as a district, but that's valuable for the board to do also. The superintendent stays in touch, but let's have the board do it too. So I think those are a lot of the components of it that then go to how do you vision? What are you doing in terms of looking for what we need to see for our students? So I'll tell you about a question that I got from someone that said, look, we're going to have an increase in the trade programs. How are you going to decide whether that's really being successful? We need to know, are they prepared? Do they meet? Did we know what the employers want? Do they know the technical things, but also, do they know how to work well with people? Do they know how to feel good about how they do things? And by the way, do they know how to continue learning? Because they always need to learn. We always do to get better. Technology is going to change. New ideas are going to come out. Maybe if you're in a trade, maybe you'd like to start a business.
Yeah.
Can we help you think about how to do that?
Yeah.
Can we think about what that might look like?
Yeah. And how
Is
to,
that-
in trade, I went to a vocational high school. So I do counter, it was a long time ago, but I remember one of the big obstacles, especially growing up in Chicago. Now, I know we're talking about eons ago, but a lot of times it was hard for people, especially the black young students, young men and young women, to get access to those good trade jobs, even if they had the skills, because you had to go through the politics of getting certain cards. You had to, whatever union, whatever it was, and it was hard to get access to, just, and I don't know, because I didn't go to high school in South Carolina, but I'm pretty sure it was probably similar to back in the 80s and stuff, even in the 90s, getting access to a lot of the, inside these unions that a lot of these
Right.
trades had that made sure that you got good jobs.
Whether it's union shop or not, there's that connection. How do you find out about it? How do you so like working experiences can be a place, but are we making sure that's happening, that they're being successful? You can track it. So that's what colleges do now. A year after, who's got a job?
Oh, yeah.
There are things like that we can look at. So I guess you can probably see my background is aligned with the things that are required from folks who sit on a board. I'm hoping I could use it in a way that's for everyone, not just for my two grandchildren who are in the schools here, but for all of our children to have that support, to know they have it, the families to have the support, parents have support that they need. This is community. This is what we do together.
Well, I will, in closing, I will say a few things. And one is, Doctor, as impressive as your resume is, having a PhD and everything that led up to that, for me, and I'm pretty sure this will serve you well. I know it has played a huge part into your success. You mentioned earlier about your passion and how you were reserved to really allow your full passion for just caring about young people and their education Don't dim that light at all. If that light makes somebody uncomfortable, that is their problem. I taught my daughters never let a you problem become a me problem. There is nothing wrong with leaning into humanity and leaning into wanting to be that vessel, to have that impact that you have been blessed. I don't know if you're a person of faith or not, so I don't mean to offend you
I
if you're
am.
not. But yes, I mean, I look at it as, and my mother taught me this. She said, Jeannie, when you allow God to use you as a vessel to be a blessing, your blessings come. And it's not so much about doing it to be blessed. It's just the honor that for whatever reason, you have been chosen to be that vessel, to have that impact, to make a difference, to change the trajectory of someone's life. And there's no better way than education. People for years were, oh, kids are our number one priority. Bullshit. No, they're not. Because if they were, teachers would get paid like Steph Curry and LeBron, and you just wouldn't. Public education wouldn't be a question about. We wouldn't even have these conversations. But I just want to encourage you to lean into the passion that you have, the passion you have from people, the passion that you have for helping people, that you learn and was part of your DNA, that was passed down from your dad and your mom. When you're talking about what your dad taught you, it comes across the screen. Your spirit comes across that way as being sincere in wanting to make a positive difference for all children. And that is really, really important in the times that we live in. So continue to please lean into that. And you have a permanent platform on this show to be as passionate as you want to about education and making a
Can I
difference
add
for
one
young
thing
people.
to it?
Please.
Our teachers need passion for them too,
Yes.
because they are the ones that have been getting crunched in all of the things that have been going on. I've actually teachers, librarians, and others. My sister-in-law was a librarian.
Thank you for mentioning librarians. Oh, please. You got some
And
states trying to, Arkansas, I heard they're trying to jail a librarian for books? Is that what we're doing now?
And there are people who care about finding things for people to read, to be interested by, to learn about beyond their own experience about the world, to know how to do research. Incredibly important that all of our educators, and that includes the aides, and that they feel respected, appreciated, because they work hard. They have hearts for our kids. Um, Maybe I've had one of those too. But yeah, so it comes from caring that you really want to be the people that inspire our youth and have them be successful. So that is sort of the nuts and bolts of how we can care with one another and be in community.
I agree. That last word right there is so important. Community, and be that last phrase, be in community. So I guess full disclosure, I don't have to for the viewers, but it's just interesting. But just for our conversation, I didn't mention it even when we talked off camera. But my baby sister and one of my nephews are teachers in the Chicago public school system. My baby sister, Angela Chambers Jones, who's an amazing teacher and an amazing person. I'm so proud of her. All of her kids love her. Anytime she changes like classes or schools, I mean, these kids are in tears because they love her. They call her Miss J. They love her. She's an amazing teacher. And so is my nephew. He was just phenomenal. He just started teaching. My baby sister's been in the system now probably close to 20 years. Right around there. My nephew, just because he maybe graduated about maybe 3 years ago. And he's worked his way up in the Chicago public school system as a teacher. So yeah, I'm a little biased toward teachers, and I don't make an apology for it because, like I said, teachers, listen, think about it. Everybody that's watching me, our children, my oldest daughter, she's not old enough to be in school yet. She had her first child, our first grandchild, Hendrix Blue. Our children spend more time with teachers in a lot of cases than they do with their parents.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing, I think about teachers that I had back in high school. I can even remember I can remember my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Walls, kindergarten teacher, who on the first day, on the first day of school of kindergarten, pinned a note to my shirt that said, because I've heard the story a million times as my mother's watching. It said, "Could you please tell Geno to stop walking and talking in class?" So I guess what I do for a living now, I guess that was a tale way back in kindergarten, my first day of school. So I have such a passion for education myself, so I was so excited. So Dr. Char Fitzwater, I'm excited. I'm excited that we are going to get you and the other members that are leaning into humanity on the school board. You have a permanent home to come back on the show. Please, I want you to come back before Election Day in South Carolina. Remember, everybody, is October 19th. October 19th is Election Day. That is the first day of early voting. Election Day ends on November 3rd. We are not voting on November 3rd. We are voting on October 19th, or as early as possible, for a whole lot of reasons, because these folks are going to play a whole lot of games. But we're going to show up. We're going to show up for ourselves. We're going to show up for each other. We're going to show up for the people that can't show up for themselves. And we're going to show up for our children. Dr. Fitzwater, let everybody know where they can learn more about you and support your campaign, because campaigns need canvassers and volunteers, and campaigns need cash. So let everybody know where they can go learn more about you and support your run for school board.
So it's Char Fitzwater. Oh no, charforstudents.com.
There you go.
There's a QR code back here. Not that you can get that, but charforstudents.com. You can also watch on social media, Char Fitzwater for Students. And that really is the goal, to be for students and to be the best things we can have in the education. Thank you so much for having me, Geno. So nice to talk with you and get to know you so well. And what a great thing it is that you help share with people. Thank you.
Well, that means a lot, but thank you. And if I can, in closing, I want to give a big shout out to your mom and your dad. What's your mom and your dad's name?
My dad's name was Bob. My mom's Charlene.
Wow. Char, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
You can learn a lot about a person and people by spending time with their children, even their adult children. And it is clear that from the lessons that you learn from watching, I say kids watch your behavior before they listen to anything you say. So they learn more from watching how you live your life than what you tell them. Because if your walk and your talk didn't match, then it will either confuse them, or they'll see the hypocrisy and you get called out on it. If they were a kid like me, I didn't see hypocrisy with my mom and grandparents, but I saw it with other adults, and I was always calling it out. Sometimes we're calling out when I shouldn't as a kid. But it is clear that your parents did such an amazing job, and it reflects on who they had to be as people. Just the spirit that you have of, like I said, of caring and compassion and humanity. It really just comes through the television screen, the screen so strong. So shout out to your parents for doing one heck of a job for raising an incredible person. I mean, yes, your accomplishments and receipts, your resume speaks for itself, but the person that you are, I think in the end is going to be the most important thing. That's the legacy, that's the impact, that's what people will remember. People always, even as an entertainer, I learned there's one thing, people will always remember how you made them feel. They may forget what you said, or they maybe can't remember exactly what you said or how you said it, but they will never forget how you make them feel. So continue to lean into that passion and making people feel good. Thank you, Dr. Fitzwater. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Wonderful. That was I'm so glad she came on. Just man, beautiful spirit. We need more people who care about people. You would think that's so damn simple, but era we're living in, it is not simple because the people who are in power, to have the most power, don't give a shit about nobody but themselves and their power. So we have to, it is a time where we have to, she calls it good governance. We just need good people. Just who are humans who care about humanity. That's not asking too much, and that's really simple. Now, it's hard for people who don't have a sense of humanity and compassion, who believe empathy is a weakness. But that's their problem. But their time is up, so we got to get them out of here. All right, thank you for letting me be a part of your life, everybody. God bless each and every one of you, and especially you, God, most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show live Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Central Time, 4:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Click on that like button. Click on the thumbs up right now, everybody. Please, 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 please click on the thumbs up button. It is so important. We got to let YouTube know how much you love the show, how important it is to you, to the culture, to the community. It's the baddest and the best show in the business. So let YouTube know how much you like the show by clicking on the thumbs up right now. So like, share, click on that share link. Share it on every platform that you know and don't know. Any and every platform out there on social media, share this show right now. Like, share, and tell everybody to subscribe. And also do me another big favor. Please leave your comments in the comments section below. You'll see the comment section comments. Please, I want to see a whole lot of comments in the comment section tonight, if for no other reason because Dr. Char Fitzwater was such an incredible person, and how you can't wait to get her on the Charleston County School Board, and we need more people like Dr. Fitzwater on school boards all across America. Absolutely. So please leave your comments in the comment section below. Please support Black-owned media and independent media. Is so important. So we can continue to tell the truth and shame the devil. You can support my media company and this platform, my show, financially via Zelle or Cash App. No amount is too small or too large. You can Zelle your financial support. Use my Gmail, Geno Jones Show. Real simple, Geno Jones Show at Gmail. All right? Do that, Geno Jones Show at gmail.com, or you can support the show using Cash App, $Dad G Jones, capital D, lowercase, capital G, capital J, lowercase, O-N-E-S. Actually, it's Dad G Jones, so it's capital D, lowercase A-D, capital G, capital J, lowercase O-N-E-S. Capital D, like Dad, lowercase A-D, capital G, capital J, lowercase O-N-E-S. That is on Cash App. No amount is too small or too large. And please run your business. I'd love to have you as a sponsor of the show and the platform. We'd love to run your ads, your ads for your business, whatever ads you have, your campaign ads, election season, so all those running for office. Please, we'll run your campaign ads right here, right now, and I'll give you all the information, sponsorship package information, or if you want to run ads, just use my Gmail, Geno Jones Show at gmail.com. Shout out to Allie Jones, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the show. You can check her out and her Lexi Jones collection out on Instagram, lx.ncl_, And also shout out to Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. You can check him. You can check him out. He is the master barber's master barber. You can check him and his work out on IG. Kel be cutting up, because Kel be cutting up. That's KELBECUTTINUP. We'll see you live from the Posh Studios here in the Carolinas. Next show live is going to be on Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for watching, everybody. Once again, I want to thank Dr. Char Fitzwater. She's running to be a Charleston County School Board member for District 1. Remember, real love. I don't care what the dictionary says. Real love is not a verb. It is a noun. It is about action. You show love by your action and behavior. Show somebody you love them. And I love you. We'll see you live. So go back and binge watch this and all my episodes. Once again, please don't forget, leave your comments in the comment section below. Please click on like, share, click on the share the show on every platform there is. Like, share, and subscribe right now to the Geno Jones Show YouTube channel. My goal is to get 500,000 subscribers end of the year. It's August. Let's go. Thanks for watching, everybody.
When Geraldine and I tell our girls about growing up in the 80s and 90s, it's like talking about a whole different planet. We used to play outside till the street lights came on. We drank straight out of the water hose, ran everywhere, explored, got lost, got hurt, busted our knees, our heads, and our butts. Nobody knew where we were, what we were doing, or who we were with. I'm Chris Jones. I'm a rocket scientist, a minister, and a girl dad. And I have a theory about why childhood and everything else feels different now. Because gravity hasn't changed, but the price of a trip to the hospital has. Blue jeans, Jordans, gas, groceries, and health insurance. Everything is more expensive, and it's scaring us out of risk, innovation, and the joy of life itself. It was more affordable to fall, to fail, to get back up. And our parents trusted America enough to let us run free. Bankruptcy was for gamblers and crooked real estate developers, not middle-class families, not teachers, not cancer patients. I'm running for Congress because the fall of the American working class wasn't an accident. It was a political decision. Meet my congressman, French Hill, the most powerful banker in America. He's my opponent, but he's your problem too. He chairs the Financial Services Committee and fights anything that looks like consumer protection. The law to limit overdraft fees to $5.
This is a change that could save American households $5 billion in overdraft charges every year.
French Hill killed it. Yep, they even found a way to make being broke more expensive. If there's anybody who's got to go, it's him. I'm blessed. I studied hard, earned 2 degrees from Morehouse College, then 2 masters and a PhD from MIT. I married my best friend, who's a combat veteran and an ER doctor. God gave us 3 beautiful daughters, and along that journey, I earned the votes of 319,000 Arkansans who believe we deserve better. I have good news for you. You can still go outside till the street lights come on. We call it organizing. Just you and a few friends fighting for your freedom, standing up for each other. We have 12 months to win this election. We have a poll that makes this a 1-point race and a grassroots organization that has been growing for 3.5 years. This district is full of fighters. We're doing the hard work, and we need you to join us.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.